And we'll begin the questions with the Deputy Chair of the Committee, Senator Baker.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Sheila Fraser, for appearing before us today and for your remarks. You were the Auditor General of Canada, and you said in your opening statement that you audited Elections Canada office in 2005. We have heard before this committee testimony that was severely adversely critical of the office of the Chief Electoral Office, the operations of the office, the running of the office of the Commissioner as well, severely critical. We heard that testimony here today. When you did your audit of the office, did you find anything resembling mismanagement, disorganization, and not fulfilling the principles laid out in the Act on behalf of that office?
No, Mr. Chair. In fact, while as any audit will have recommendations in it, I would say that the report at the time in 2005 was a very favorable report. I would also mention, too, that Elections Canada certainly has a very excellent reputation internationally. And finally, as for financial management, there is a financial audit that is done every year of all of the officers of Parliament, which is produced in Parliament. And there has never been, to my knowledge, and certainly all the time that I was Auditor General, there were never any issues about financial management.
Your presentation to us today, one of the main points that you made was that an office of Parliament does not have to go to Treasury Board for approval. And you are saying now with this legislation, this changes the picture. Could you elaborate on that for us?
In 2007-8, the officers of Parliament worked very closely with the Treasury Board Secretariat to review a number of administrative policies that would require the intervention of ministers into the management of those offices. I'll give you kind of a clear example. Was in the communications policy that all of our communications had to be approved by government. And as you can imagine, for officers of Parliament, that was not something that we looked on kindly. We had never been asked to submit, quite frankly, our public statements or any news media reports that we were doing to the Privy Council office, but the provision was there that we could be required to do that. So we worked with the Treasury Board Secretariat, and it was actually a very long process to review all of these policies, and they did recognize the need for the independence of the officers of Parliament from government. The government could not interfere, if you will, in the management of the running of the offices. That does not mean that we are not subject to Treasury Board policies. We are. I should say, I can't use we anymore. The officers are, but the accountability for that responsibility is now with the head of the agency. And there are provisions where the Treasury Board Secretariat can verify that. So a large number of administrative policies were changed, including the communications policy and the contracting policy. And if you will, the committee wishes, I can certainly indicate to the clerk where to find that information, but there is an explicit directive that the contracting policy as regards to the approval by the Treasury Board does not apply to the officers of Parliament.
Welcome. Just to begin, and for the purpose of transparency and disclosure, like you said that you've so far received $2,450 for your participation on the advisory committee. Can you tell us the total length of your contract and what you anticipate will be the total remuneration in that position?
The contract is for 1 year, which can be extended two additional years, so can cover 3 years. The remuneration is based on hours hours of work or participation in the committee. I would expect there may be another one, perhaps 2 meetings this year, and the remuneration would probably be about the same per committee meeting.
Okay, thank you. I wanted to ask you about your statement, one of your chief objections to this bill, and you've been very, very forceful in your objections to it. You've said, you've gone so far as to say that you think it's going to be very difficult to have a truly fair election in 2015 if Bill C-23 is passed. And you've said that one of the reasons why you feel so strongly about that, it won't be a fair election, is because you think an independent officer of Parliament should be able to bring any issue that he or she believes important to the attention of Parliament and the public. Now, that's a very broad statement and critique, that they should be able to comment on any issue they want. Do you think it's okay for them to comment on any policy issue?
No, I think the officers of Parliament know well that they do not comment on policy, but should for example, the Chief Electoral Officer note that there are irregularities during the process of an election, for example, inappropriate calls to electors telling them to go to the wrong voting station, he should be able to inform them to be aware of that they only communicate, they do not communicate by robocalls, and then to direct them as to how to deal with that. So that's the kind of information, and I think it's very clear to all officers of Parliament that officers of Parliament do not comment on policy.
So you actually don't think they should be able to bring any issue that they believe important to the attention of the public?
Well, I didn't think I had to go into a long and exhaustive list. My concern is that the Chief Electoral Officer is now very limited and can only comment to the public on the information that is specified in Article 18.
So while you think that Article 18 is too prescriptive, we can agree that saying that they should be able to say anything they want is too broad.
Anything that he or she believes important.
Right, okay, excuse me, let me quote you correctly. Can you not agree that it's a very broad statement that they should be able to bring any issue they believe important to the attention of the public?
Well, that's your opinion.
That is my opinion, but I'm asking you. I mean, I guess what I'd like to understand from you is if you were to change Article 18,
yes,
and because you find it too narrow, how would you broaden that?
I would encourage you to look at Article 8 of the Auditor General Act, which indicates that the auditor can comment and issue a special report to Parliament on anything that he or she believes important. It's already in other legislation. I think you have to respect the officers of Parliament, that they will work within the mandate that is given to them, and they know that mandate and will respect it.